Okay. Oddly enough, after all this, it looks like Seven Deadly Sins is going to end, but there's no confirmation whether or not that new spot will, in an Arthur kind of sequel series. Not confirmed, at least from what I've seen. Hoping it's confirmed, before the end of this, so it's not like months to months to year to absolutely nothing, and then it just pops up. Very strange if so, but I mean, whatever. Roll the series. Anyway, this chapter was a strange one when you were reading it, just because of how like offbeat it really kind of laid out. But given like we've already had something similar, that it wasn't like a deep surprise. It was pretty easy to understand once shown. There was some stuff that kind of personally I thought was weird, but nothing to really kind of gauge overall, because this all starts out Seven Deadly Sins that you remembered showed, well, 6 of the Seven Deadly Sins plus Elizabeth. I wish they would just say that she's the new 7th member, but they show up, and obviously they're going to go against Kath. Kath is all broken up, still into pieces, but he's reforming, and it doesn't seem like he can be hurt by normal means. Obviously, we know it's this chaos power. He's almost, I don't know, I think it would just be easier to say he's immortal, because it's not like he's got some, not like he's some form of energy being outside of a physical body. It just feels like he just is immortal at the moment, and you're going to need chaos power to kill him, or some form of ability to cancel him out. If they don't really have anything to contend with that, I mean, the closest you have Merlin with absolute cancel, but the chaos power we know is beyond her, so I doubt hers anything to his ability. And I guess maybe if she had a long time to prepare, because she has her infinity spell, maybe she can, use a lot of like combinational preps, but that's just a what if, who knows, probably not. Well, while they're fighting against him, you have Kath talking about like, oh, Arthur, you're really that surprised that your kingdom fell apart, because even if they didn't fight the Demon King, something bad would happen, some other like calamity would happen, even something like from a meteor hitting them, or like a tsunami or something. He has this, I want to say timeless mindset. Not that he like, he doesn't really see time as a thing. It's more of like that. Well, yeah, eventually everything's going to be destroyed at some point. Everything's going to eventually fall. Everything's eventually fall apart and crumble. Unless you somehow, like, kept moving away from the calamity. Like, got off the planet before the sun. One day, supernovas, or, as I said, like a meteor crashes. Anything in there that would cause, like, a collapse outside of, an enemy attacking, or the country kind of, like, failing upon itself. More of just a inevitable act of bad luck, casualty, or just nature. But from this, they're getting ready to fight him, and he's like, you really see, time and everything in the events kind of like this, because again, he sees it as the eventual absolute ending, and not from like, in the now. It's very strange, but I can kind of get it if you're, seemingly an ageless being that, oh yeah, one day this is gonna happen, versus like, oh, we'll live now. I was like, yeah, but it's somebody who knows that they're going to be alive at that point. It's probably not the same. I mean, I guess it's like the idea of if someone said, yeah, a meteor's going to hit, 500 years from now and destroy everything. And damn, that sucks. I'll be dead by then. Versus if it was like, yeah, in 2 weeks. And obviously, get a lot more panic. Then you get like Kath lunging, and the Seven Deadly Sins fighting him for a bit. Some attacks going off. Just some of the things you'd expect. But Merlin gets like her freeze power, her time stop. Not like it's not like a true time stop. Hers is more like a selective situational one, because it goes on a target, not on like actual time. But after that point, they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna frozen, so we don't know when it'll be undone. We'll come back again. This goes to like my thing in Ruby. Is when they're like, oh, we can't kill Salem. How do we beat her? She's, mortal and stuff. Shoot her into space. Shoot her into space. Have Merlin teleport the dude to, like, the moon. Send him out into the stars. Send him into the sun. And I feel like she could perfect cube herself with air and constantly keep teleporting and then just throw them into the sun and then come back or something. I don't know. We don't have an exact range on her teleport, but I guess if she just chained it and she doesn't run out of magic, she can just continuously do it. And creating oxygen wouldn't be something that's like beyond her capability. I'm sure she's in the, or I guess she could teleport pockets of space, or not pockets of space, pockets of air into hers, like outside, and then add it in. Either way, the idea of it to me is just like you froze him, and then it's like, well, it'll be undone eventually. We're not gonna deal with it today. Why? What reason would that be? What are you guys doing? And, you know, it looks like everyone ends up returning. You get, like, way in the future, Elizabeth is going to die of old age. Bond died. You know, like, we don't know where King and Diane are in this mindset. It looks like they're all falling apart. And what was weird is when they mentioned this, in this whole part, nobody mentioned Gauther at all. Damn. Poor doll dude. But Meliodas, like, being there when Elizabeth is dying, and then some guy comes in, and King Meliodas, you know, there's an issue. And you see Kath is back, you know, he unfroze from time, and he's just like killing people. And Meliodas, the thing about this one that kind of confuses you is Meliodas didn't have like a sword that was to either style, because you know, we knew the old version of Meliodas. I mean, even the one shot, but the one shot and the and like before, like the demons were sealed and stuff, had that great sword, and then he had like a short sword, Lost Fate. And this one he just has like a really plain. I was just like, where's this sword at? What's going on? And then you have them, and when Kath is like talking about him that like nothing is permanent, and you know the world of chaos, and you know everything is a limited amount of time, and trying to mess with him, but Meliodas is able to like bring up the bonds of his friends, and you know all the experiences that they've had, and even while they're dead, as long as they're in his, you know, in his mind and his heart and his memories, that they're with him. It's the spirit and the idea of them that, you know, drive him forward. I'm wondering how long Meliodas would live in this scenario, because we know he's no longer immortal. And I think it's 3,000 years that the demons generally live. I think that was the stated time in the lore. I'm not 100% sure. I remember it being something around that. Like, demons had a definitive lifespan as well. Obviously not the same as the humans, but it was like some big, multiple thousand years. So eventually Meliodas would die as well. We just don't know at what point. Definitely out of the deep. But it was actually when he breaks free, it was actually like mind control, and it was at like showing him like he's like, oh, a potential future, because as he said, you know, all these deaths and this the end is always inevitable. So he was trying to like mess with them and being, even if you win here, these things are gonna happen to you. And what are you going to do about it? How are you going to... You can fight me, but you can't fight the passage of time. You can't fight the inevitable kind of conclusion to people around you. And everyone else is still caught in the illusion, except for Arthur, who, when they're talking, he's like, you know, you got Kath saying he's going to eat Arthur and become the embodiment of chaos. And Arthur realizes, like, he's like, I know a way how to defeat you. I'm guessing that instead of just like, you know, slash him up, he's gonna have to absorb him. He's gonna have to make him into his body, and gonna have to, like, you know, become one being. And I mean that makes sense, because the chaos power that Kath stole, plus the chaos power that Kath originates from, is originally from the power that now is Arthur. So him merging it into his body to really defeat him would make sense. And if there's more of these chaos being bad guys out there, if, you know, defeating them, he absorbs them into, you know, his status and his body, and then maybe he'll gain a little bit more control of the chaos as it goes until, you know, his full grasp on the power is complete. Because he's not fully mastered it yet. We don't know anything about other chaos beings, and we don't even know if this Arthur sequel is going to happen or not. No, at least knowledge. But I did like this chapter, and I do mean that 100%. I did really like this chapter. I thought it was weird for a minute that they were like, oh, they offed him and they beat him, and then they're gonna, you know, go live happy lives and stuff, because it felt like a rush chapter, and we know the series was ending, so it was just maybe like, oh, maybe the author decided to wrap it up, and maybe he wants to save time frozen Kath for later. That was actually one of my original theories with Acnology and Fairy Tales. Maybe when he got sealed years later, like with the next gen or something, he would get he'd get unsealed or broken out somehow. And I was like, well, maybe that'll happen with Kath. Oh no, well, Acnology ate a crazy mention and then thrust it out with his bare hands. But Kath, as it was an illusion, as he was trying to break Meliodas' will and saying how, what I say is true. Even if you end up having victory here, it doesn't mean that you're going to escape this this end when it comes for the people around you and eventually you. Because I don't imagine that Meliodas would just live on forever. It could be like some weird side effect. Maybe he's unaging. Maybe he can die by unaging. I do remember that the demons will die at some point, but as we saw with like the Demon King, he's a weird exception, and maybe that carries on to his sons. That would really suck for Meliodas, but it wouldn't surprise me. And then it'd be cool that at that point, because then you could use this character, like I said, for continuation later down the line, and use Meliodas as just some big being knowing all his past stories. I haven't to really use it for any of these other instances of having theories. But the next one sounds pretty interesting. Eternal Kingdoms. I'm guessing maybe Arthur will have something about the embodiment of Camelot, like in his soul, and as long as the idea and imagery of it exists, he can rebuild it and he can he can recreate them. Unfortunately, it's not a chapter next week. We're gonna be on break, which I could have sworn we were just had a week off. I don't know. Maybe Kaba is trying to figure something out. Maybe he's planning. I guess that would make sense of if it involves the Arthur continuation and have him as the main character series. Either way, like I said, I liked the whole fake. Well, I don't even know if I call it a fake out because it was an illusion. It wasn't like the whole epilogue where it seemed like it was going to end and then the boulder almost kills Elizabeth. This was more of this character trying to show him what he meant when he was talking about death being inevitable. But other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, from the like button and subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Been that for your channel. Subscribe, and thank you all for listening.